Confucianism is an ideological religion that follows the teaching of Confucius. It has had a lasting impact on East Asian society and still majorly influences it today. Confucius was born 551 BCE with the name Kongchu. He was born in warring China, where several warlords controlled different areas, and bloody wars were fought over meaningless reasons. He sought to find unification and order within a seemingly chaotic society that he lived in. He set down several philosophies, which we will cover later, but he also set down several quotes, which are still influenced today. For example, the one on the screen, which is "Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in getting up every time we do." Another is "Real knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance." Quotes like this were put down in books and related through generations, and after the Han Dynasty, when Confucianism fell, they were reintroduced in the Renaissance of Confucianism after the Mongols took over, and show that Confucius's ideas are relatable no matter which time period you're in. Confucianism taught of 5 relationships that were very important to his followers. The first was between the father and the son, which is a male skewed version of between the parent and the child. It shows that the father would provide for the son and teach the son, and the son would listen and do as the father would say. It provided structure and order and supported order in the household, and parents not being friends but more than mentors to their children. The next was between siblings, and that the older sibling, as shown here with a nice little picture, the older sibling would be a sort of guide to the younger sibling, similar to the father, but more personable and more experiences that the father isn't really supposed to tell you about, kind of thing. Showing you what to do right, what to do wrong, kind of teaching you from their mistakes. Next, between the husband and the wife, as shown by these cute little puppies. The husband and the wife were the husband was supposed to take care of the wife was supposed to take care of the kids. It's the relationship there is common in current society, that Western society that we live in today, just viewed traditional instead of like mandatory. But its teachings hold some value. It shows that there's supposed to be a working relationship between the two counterparts of the scenario. The next two are between the subject and the ruler. This was a major one because it supported feudalism, which I will cover later, had major implications that Confucius probably didn't even know. Confucius, it is said, wanted to be a authoritative figure in his own government, and part of his teachings were to show that he was qualified, and when he couldn't make that, he just spread his teachings because he considered himself a teacher and before anything else. But it's really prevalent in his support for feudalism about that the subject will listen unquestionably to his lord as long as his lord provides for him. It's his lord's job to provide protection and food if it's in very scarce quantities and things like that, but as a whole to keep him safe and not let him die from tribes of barbarians or whatever comes through. The next is between an elder and someone younger. So, for example, a grandfather and a child, or a village elder and a warrior or something or whatever. It's kind of like a respect your elders, and it's in Asian society, elders are valued much more than in American and Western society. We value youth and things such as that, but Confucianism definitely shows that in Asian societies, age before beauty has a whole new meaning. The practices of Confucianism kind of differ from normal religions. They don't have set practices. They follow ideologies. They follow codes, and practices would be to listen to your father or something as that. While it is a religion, because it's a way of thinking, feeling, and acting, it can work well with other religions because it doesn't really force you to do a lot religiously. You don't have to sacrifice any animals or anything like that. Instead they follow the philosophies handed down by Confucius in his book written by his students called The Analects of Confucius. and it was written by it's compiled by his students after his death, and it writes a bunch of lessons and a bunch of things and a bunch of quotes and little quirk things that really influences a lot of people today in ways that we don't know. For example, you never work in a day in your life if you enjoy your job, which is paraphrasing, I don't know the exact quote, is Confucius. And a lot of people don't know that, but it influences the world as a whole. Their practices are more following the teachings than really doing any individual practice. It does have a strong relationship to other religions, though. It considers other religions secondary to its teachings, of course, because it wouldn't consider itself secondary, but it considers them a great way to unite the people. For example, the Lantern Festival in Japan, shown on the top right, is a way to honor the dead, but in Confucianism's eyes, honoring the dead is secondary. The uniting of people in a joyous occasion is more important. Same goes for Buddhist monks praying or Vietnamese folk religion in the bottom left. It is just a sign that it just brings people together, and that is what Confucianism wants. People can be Buddhist and Confucius. People can be Shinto and Confucian and be a Confucian follower or whatnot. It was actually encouraged by Japan, as we'll cover in a little bit. Confucianism's sphere of influence, as I just said, was major to empires. It supported feudalism. When Japan, Imperial Japan, in the time period where it was prepping for the First World War, or the Second World War, it supported Confucianism. Despite pushing out Buddhism and supporting Shinto, it kept Confucianism, because Confucianism kept rules and guidelines and supported its own government. If you were a good Confucian, you would follow your government, and that was an ideology really useful. The Han Dynasty, its relations even more, because the Han Dynasty was the first dynasty to really accept it and become really big. Yet the Han Dynasty fell, and when the Han Dynasty fell with Confucianism, it went out of style because it was associated with the dynasty, and anything that the dynasty did that wasn't approved, Confucianism was thrown in the same boat, because they liked Confucianism. Obviously Confucianism is bad if the Han Dynasty liked it. But Confucianism was revived in its renaissance, as I previously stated, and which is why it still influences people today. There was a time period in which Buddhism definitely outdid Confucianism in its influence. And that is about it.